Today we are doing evaluation question 7 with me, Sean Dickinson, and
Joel here.
the question is...
How do you feel that your music magazine has improved and differs from your preliminary task?
Okay, so we looked at our prelim task and we were quite impressed with what we made.
Yeah.
Like, we thought when we first started media that the tasks and the magazines we'll be making for it weren't going to be top quality.
No, but actually it turned out actually pretty well.
Yeah, after like realizing what the photos turned out like, we were actually... it was all coming together quite quickly. We were told to make plans before we even started doing the photography, but we got a bit carried away and did that anyway.
Yeah.
But on my magazine, I had a photo of Joel on my front cover, and the photo itself wasn't a medium shot. It was meant to be...
Yeah, you see it's a bit wide.
It was meant to be a medium shot, but it was probably a long shot, so it included more of Joel's body, which meant I had to crop my photo down, which, to be honest, I thought it looked better as a long shot. But my teacher decided for me to crop it down. But in the end, I decided on making it have all the school colours. I feel like it came together quite well.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It does look really quite good. With my one, yeah, again, same Sean. I took the picture before I did the plan, so I had like a rough idea of where I wanted to be. Like Sean, I also used the house styles of the WGSB logo and also the WG6 logo, so that sort of purpley sort of colour with the yellow and blue, and I feel it's turned out pretty well. The medium shot I've used, it's just a full frontal with his waist, with Lewis's waist cut off, and I feel it's turned out pretty well. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, it looks very smart. He's dressed very well, which is a surprise for Lewis. But
Lovely smile as well.
yeah, no, his attire is perfect, and whereas in my preliminary front page, I decided on trying to get yet still have a smart look, so the tie was buttoned up all the way and the suit was done up properly, but he had a nice big smile, but it was more of a natural pose because it was more as if he was just going to do his hair.
Yeah.
So it was the
Do that a
photo
lot.
we tried to create was just him walking down the stairs. But I just took so many photos to the point where the best one was just a natural pose.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I mean, I know I touch up my hair a lot, and it does seem like, that's what I do on a daily basis rather. And it does look, and it has turned out quite well because it's showing like the natural environment of this school, and there's not really a lot of changes about that. So I think that it's turned out really well.
Yeah, I'd say probably one of my favourite parts to my preliminary task is probably the fact that I edited it so that the background was all black and white. And then Joel himself, who was then put into the foreground, who was the subject of the front page, was still in colour. I feel like that made him pop off the page.
Yeah, and you can see it, and it actually does look like it's almost 3D. I am almost coming out and looking right at the reader, and it has turned out very well.
Yeah, it's quite engaging.
With my one, I just used a white backdrop. It is textured, however, but I think it still does work well.
I feel like that works because even though it is just a plain colour, it does add a little bit depth, because when you see someone put just a white square, you can tell that was made in Photoshop because of how basic it is.
Yeah, whereas this one you can see all of
it
it,
just adds a bit more depth to it.
and a bit more realism.
Yeah, I'd say my biggest weakness on mine would be the fact of... It wasn't necessarily a weakness, it was probably the hardest bit about it was trying to place my my headlines over my front page. Because of the colours of the text I chose, it was quite difficult to find areas of which the text was easy to read on the picture.
Yeah.
So it was trying to read that light blue colour as it changed from a dark on the left-hand side on results day, where it changes from the part of the D is in the dark and the rest of day is on the white.
Yeah, and it kind of does contrast it.
It kind of makes you have to look in a little bit more to read it perfectly.
It's still readable, nevertheless.
Yeah.
But that is something that could just slightly be improved. With my one, I feel that maybe with the fonts that I use, they're all the same fonts. which at the time, obviously, we weren't learning a lot about music magazines and how you should use different fonts. Um, some of the words are slightly bigger than the others, but I feel like some of the actual headlines needed to be bigger and have a little bit more bulk, so they would pop out more and be more attractive. The headline of mine, I feel like I could have had like an underlining sort of thing on it.
Maybe
Um,
add another feature that just sort of
yeah,
draws something towards it.
and the bottom text where it says Lewis's first week of sixth form, I feel could have been in a different font and also quite a bit bigger as well, because that's obviously an
Yeah.
important headline.
I'd say the two things that sort of I see, not necessarily straight away, but I pick up, is I feel like the blue that you've used, the shade of blue, I feel like
Mm,
if you'd have made it slightly brighter,
yeah,
so a slightly lighter colour of blue, it might have been slightly easier to read on top of his blazer.
yeah,
But then the other thing would to be where you've got the 2 points, whereas what is your career path and new charity events to raise more money.
mm,
If you'd have maybe changed the shape of the text box to fit around Lewis's body, it might
yeah,
have, because especially on the one above his face,
yeah, it is going over
it
his
sort
face.
of it doesn't like obscure the photo, but
Yeah,
it sort of it draws your attention away a little bit from his face.
yeah, it's just like, it's kind of, it's a bit jarring as well when you see it. It's like, it does need to be a little bit further away, but
Mm.
yeah, that's what I can see.
For a preliminary task, I feel like we both got off to a really good start
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it set the standards quite high for what we
Mm.
could then create in our music magazine.
Oh yeah, definitely.
For my front page of my music magazine, my God, was that a pain in the ass. I
Yeah.
first started off just thinking I have a nice plain and sort of contemporary style magazine, and it worked perfectly until it came to the point of trying to make and add a headline.
Yeah.
It took me, it must have been 3 or 4 headlines that I made before I finally found one I liked.
And it has turned out very good. It does really
Yeah,
stamp musicality of the indie genre, and the plain sort of style of the magazine does tie in really well with the genre. I think it
yeah,
does work well.
yeah,
The different with my one though, I was taking ideas from magazines like NME and other ones like XXL, and that's why I've made the headline whites and the back colour reds. I also feel that maybe I could have used a different font as well. It took me a little while to get a good backdrop. In the end, I just made one on Photoshop, and the picture that I took of Zach, he's facing away from the camera, which you don't usually see in music magazines. It's really quite rare. There's only been like a handful in some rap magazines, but I wanted to make it a little bit different and see how it would turn out. The picture itself has turned out quite well, and then the fonts that I've chosen and the different headlines on the front of the magazine, I feel maybe I could have done a little bit better because some of them are the same font and they're
yeah.
kind of the same size as well. So similar to my preliminary. Quite a few things have changed. Obviously, I've added the barcode at the bottom, which is just that little bit of page furniture, which gives it a bit more realism as well.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we didn't include on our prelim
No,
tasks.
and it does actually make it look,
More realistic,
yeah, you
yeah.
wouldn't notice it, but it does, and that's what it's pretty cool. The part where it says exclusive interview with Easy Z, um, the Easy Z part can be bigger in a different font, like his house in his house style font that he uses for say like his shows or something like that.
Yeah.
That could be changed, but yeah, what were your thoughts?
I'd say the photo works perfectly for the magazine because I see the sort of photos, like magazines you try to recreate from the Enemy and like the Billboard type ones.
Mm.
The photo's perfect. I'd say maybe if you move the exclusive interview with EZZ, maybe more central on him,
Yeah,
so that it was mainly just on top of his black t-shirt.
yeah.
And then I'd say the only other thing I'd think about changing is it's probably one of the biggest things on there would be the background.
Mm.
Maybe thinking about like you had on your prelim task where you had something which added more depth to the photo.
Yeah,
So instead of just slapping like a plain grey on there, maybe add something with texture.
yeah. And they'll spend maybe a bit of a backlight or something like that that can
Yeah,
show that it
like add
is.
some gradient to the photo.
Yeah, and it could look a lot better.
I'd say the one thing that it's not that I don't like it on my front page. It's just the fact of I've only got one headline. That
Yeah.
is, it's going a bit. It's like all a bit like the saying all my eggs are in one basket. I've only relied on this one headline for people to think, oh yeah, I'd want to buy that magazine.
Mm. But the
But
simplicity of it,
yeah, it
it can
works.
attract people.
Yeah, it
Like say,
works.
if I would say most indie artists, or not indie artists, but indie fans, they would be attracted to that magazine because that's their sort of style. You have looked at the audience expectations, and you have, I would say, fill those needs.
Yeah. But moving on to the contents page
The preliminary tasks.
of the prelim task, yeah, I'd say they weren't as strong as our front pages. They were still really good.
Your one especially, I can see that.
It works. I'd say the best thing about mine is the fact that I've fiddled around with Photoshop and what I wanted as a background, and somehow worked out. I think it was just the fact that I had 3 layers of different photos for my background.
Yeah.
So adding different. So I think there was a white, a black, and then the photo, being to the point where I could then get a perfect shade of that photo, so that it was darker than all my text on the page on that background, so that the writing on the text pops off straight away. Because I've still tried to use the light blue and the yellow from my front page and then included with photos
Yeah.
to make my contents page, and
It has worked.
it just works really well.
Yeah, you can see it pops out, and also what I also like is on the words, on the headlines, you can see like the first letter is yellow and the other ones are the light blue, and that also it does make it a little bit different, and it actually does look a lot better than say like, if it was all one color, or if the headlines were one color and the little ones were a different one as well, and it does work well. Gives that a little bit of
It's just like another little page furniture that some people like might think about.
yeah.
It's like on your contents page, I like the way that you've used the purple more in this one,
Yeah, you can see
because
that.
that way, where you've got the purple on top of your background, it's a different color to the blue and the yellow in the logo.
Also like the jaunty angle of the WGSB logo
Yeah,
in the background.
It's a lot different to what other people have done, but it sets it from the rest of them.
Yeah, and also the headlines are different to the little ones. So the main headlines are going to be in the purple, and then the little ones will be in black. And I think that does work quite well. It's a little bit different to the front page. I haven't used any yellow, but I think it works quite well. It's like that subtle sort of style, and I think it does look really good.
Yeah, I'd say the only thing that I would not necessarily change, but maybe experiment with, was making your background darker, and then making your main text for all the subheadings and like the page areas, making them either lighter, or maybe making them the yellow or something like that. Because it's sometimes bits like that where you have like a dark background with a light font, or a light font with a dark text. It's having that contrasting colors that sets and like makes things stand out so easily.
Yeah. The same. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm not too sure. Yeah, I think if the contrast was a little bit stronger, then it would make it pop out a bit more. I think I tried that, but I'm not sure if I liked it, so I just kept it at that. But yeah, I'll say the same thing, and also maybe add a few more colours and everything. But apart from that, let's have a look at your one then.
So on the contents page of our music magazine, I decided to have 2. I was having one where it was just a general contents page, and another one where I'd gone out to take my photos. I'd taken photos of 2 subjects, 2 different guys, and I was planning on using them for bigger photos on my contents page. Yet, when coming to plan it, I went through so many different like ideas of like layouts and stuff like that. It must have been about 8 sort of different contents pages I looked at, and I decided I'd have one page of the actual contents page, and another page where it just had one big photo of one of the guys and one big photo of the other, and a big coming soon over it, because I'd made a second sort of main headline sort of artist where these 2 artists were coming together to like do a collab together. On the main one, it took me a while to figure out what I was going to do, but in the end, you can probably tell I went to an NME magazine with the big title at the front, and like using the reds sort of it's sort of set apart from the front page because the front page was more based around like purples and blues,
Yeah.
but I tried to incorporate red with more of a pinky colour.
Yeah, you can see the gradient in the top as well. It's
Yeah,
that little bit, it's that little touch that actually does work really well.
yeah. And then the one thing I'm mainly trying to add was where I've got the artist names on the left-hand side. I tried to go online and find fonts as close as possible to their actual names.
Mm.
So where I've got like the Circleways ones, that's the font that they use, and the Coldplay ones and stuff like that. It's like trying to add those little things I thought would maybe like attract someone to the magazine just because of the visual aspects.
Yeah, and even just looking at the fonts, some people can just click in their mind and just be like, yeah, I know that band just because of the font. Like that
Yeah.
Coldplay and the Arctic Monkeys one, they're quite popular fonts, and you could tell by that. Even the 1975, just people that know the band and the logo, they can recognise that font easily,
Yeah.
and they'll be attracted to it.
And then the other main thing was the fact I wanted to add things which sort of my target market is sort of like 16 to 20 years old, so sort of young, going into adulthood and stuff like that. I
Mm.
wanted to include something for the younger people, so sort of like a free sort of thing. So I've included the free posters on the bottom left.
Yeah.
And then it was maybe I needed to include something for some people who are slightly older. So I thought about Reading because that's one thing that I'm going to be going to this year. So I
Me.
thought, why not include it?
Yeah.
So I put the Reading logo in, some Reading ticket, like sale with huge headlines like Kasabian, Two Door Cinema Club and Hunter.
Yeah.
So it's those sort of things that like that is true.
Yeah.
This year those bands are going to be there.
Yeah.
So adding these true aspects to my magazine, thought it might make it work a little bit better.
Yeah, the realism does add a lot to it, and it does work very well.
Yeah.
So going on to my one, for my contents page of my actual music magazine, I feel like it could have done with some work. I mean, I have changed it now, but what it looked like in the start was just, I mean, it was pretty grimy. I mean, just that big picture at the top, it just didn't really work. And then the text at the bottom as well, it's just, it had the little explanations of them at the bottom, but it still didn't really add a lot to it. There was one background colour, the same logo for the masthead of the page. I didn't think it worked very well, but the updated version does look a lot better. There's paint splatters on the back as well. There's a highlighted part behind the text, and it makes it pop out a bit more. And then what else is there? There's quite a few other things there which I feel have changed very well.
For the what's it called? For my contents page, I'd say the strongest part of my contents page would be my photos. The main photo on there with the
front page subject as well.
Yeah, the Diablo photo is where I made sure while we were doing that photo shoot was to look on how I'd want to take loads of different photos of her in different positions and looking in different directions, but still using that purple background and the same clothes. Gives her a bit more of a house style to go through the magazine.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Then having where I went out to the Klinger building in Sidcup for a photo shoot of the other like side story guys of the Charlie and Claxton sort of story of getting those sort of scenic photos of the rundown place with them in it, sort of added more like visual aspects and visual attractions.
One thing that some people might not notice about your magazine is this: when you have your the artists, there's the little red line, but there's that little spike at the ends, and that does look very good, and it can attract the indie sort of group, and I think it does look very good.
Yeah, I'd say probably my weakest part of my magazine would, if anything, be the Reading part, because I feel like that font is a bit difficult to read, but I wanted to add something behind it because otherwise it'd just be a plain square.
Yeah, no, it just wouldn't work very well.
But yeah,
the little sort of things work out. With my one, there's just a few things I could have added. There's more summaries that needed to be added to the the actual things. So, sorry, the little mastheads. The top picture needed to be smaller, which I had done now, and it does look quite a fair amount better. Add text to the images, so like overlay it with some things, and
Maybe like add like what page you can find this sort of information on.
yeah, and maybe the artist is featured on it. There's also the black box that's at the top left needs to be replaced either with an image or the issue number, which I have done now. What are your thoughts?
I'd say your photos are definitely very strong because it represents the music genre extremely well, especially with that concert photo. I don't know what concert it was, but
I believe it was the Sometime Christmas Ball.
yeah, it might have been. But the photo of, I think, was it Zach down the alleyway?
Yeah,
It doesn't stamp musicality because obviously it hasn't got anything related to it.
yeah.
But the way that it's been put into the magazine, it works
Mm,
because he like I'm assuming he's representing like hip hop and like grime sort of music.
yeah,
It like it's got that sort of era like aura and like that eerie sort of like I wouldn't say substance but eerie sort of like atmosphere
yeah.
to the photo. But then in the background it's still got like the oranges and the greens of like the light coming through.
Mm,
So yeah, no, I really like the photos she's used. I just think the one thing would be obviously to make that main photo slightly smaller so that you can fit more text on it.
yeah, yeah, I would agree. All right, let's have a look at our double page spreads. Now, obviously, we didn't do one for our preliminary tasks, but for our actual music magazines, I'd say my one is the strongest part of my final pieces. It's I like the monochrome sort of
Yeah,
feel to it.
I agree.
It's it looks quite urban as well across that sort of brick background. The columns as well that's underlaid by the small black boxes that have that are a little bit lighter as well. Also, but there's one thing I would change, and that's the drops cap, and that's I don't know the text that's next to it. It's not covered up by it. It's literally just it's basically as if I've just made the T bigger
Yeah.
and doesn't look like a proper magazine sort of thing. It's just that little thing.
Yeah, because it was odd. With our prelim task, we were told do not use bricks as backgrounds. They are terrible to put fonts and like text and colours on top of. Yet you've managed to pull it off
Yeah.
really, really well.
Yeah.
Which it shows that I think it's mainly the fact you've changed it into monochrome because that changes it into a black and white wall, and that sort of it denatures the fact that bricks generally usually have like a reddish sort of colour.
Yeah.
But the way that he's dressed works really well because he's sort of like he's not as dark as the bricks. Or the bricks are lighter than him, so he's darker on top of them.
Yeah.
But then
gives that good
the
contrast
only
off.
the only two things I would change. The drops cap isn't as noticeable as you think it is. The only things I would change would be one, this little white box here. I'd change it so it was a black background with white text.
Okay.
So that would fit with your main font as well, adding a bit more of a house style.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the G from He Came Along, it goes over the text.
Yeah. That is
'Cause
something.
If you weren't a good reader, I don't think you'd be able to tell what word was underneath
Yeah.
it.
So like maybe move that bit down and yeah.
Either move it down or just choose a different font just for that G. If it meant,
yeah.
because that way you could try and sort of, or it's just a simple thing of just moving down the text, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. All right,
Yeah.
let's see your double page spread.
My double page spread, I looked at different ones and thinking how I wanted to put my photo on there. Basically, if I wanted to have all my text on one side of the double page spread and then my photo on the other so that I could focus on that face. So I looked through all of my photos and I looked at how the different poses and stuff like that I'd got. And I decided, and I ended up choosing a photo which I ended up flipping. So she was looking in another direction to this.
She was looking to the left, but
Yeah. Now she's looking to the right. Because when I put it on the left-hand side of the page, I felt like it didn't work as well because I wanted to have my pull quote the first thing that someone would see as they pull over the page. So as they flip over that page, instantly it's got bitch right there.
yeah. And she's just
But-
looking at that.
Yeah, just like I'm not actually like a bitch.
Yeah,
So-
I do like that. Well, guess what? I'm not really a two-faced bitch. I do like the paint splats behind the background. It does look
Yeah.
quite aggressive.
Because I at first I just added three rectangles going over the fonts, over the text, so that they could pop out. But I didn't like having dead straight lines, so I was just like, that looks
a bit too basic.
it looks too uniform to be a magazine.
Mm.
So I wanted to add something which would just like break it up a bit, or just add to it so I could add texture and a bit of like griminess.
Yeah.
So I went online and found paint splatter, like Photoshop paint tools, like the brushes, and just used them to splat like black splodges around the font.
Yeah, it's the very aggressive sort of nature, and the page furniture does work really well, and it is very attractive.
Yeah,
There is one thing I would change about this magazine, and that's
go for it.
actually there's the two things. It's the columns that you got here. I would break them up into paragraphs. That's the first thing, and then put a black or a different color box behind them,
Yep,
and then so you can pop out a bit more.
and then change the font to white, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a bit small as well.
Yeah, no,
and the font as well.
The way I noticed it was the fact that I'd written a lot more than I thought I had.
Yeah,
I thought I hadn't written as much, but then when it came to putting it on the page, I had to shrink the fonts down, I had to make everything smaller, and it was just a struggle to try and fit it on, because I only wanted to have one double page spread
yeah,
for this artist. But I guess what I've done, I'm happy with. I'm very happy with the way
Yeah,
it is.
I think it
Because
should be
I
open
went
as well.
through two, at first I just had a page where it was just one picture on one page, and the text in two columns on the other page with a couple of quotes. And compared to this, I feel like this is 100 steps forward. So
Definitely.
yeah,
All right. I think
So-
that's a wrap.
yeah, that is it. So that was our evaluation question 7 on how we feel like we've progressed from our preliminary task to our music magazine, and I hope you enjoyed.